Hello and welcome to On the Record, a debate-style television talk show where Bahamians will find the balanced, true and open debate you've been looking for. Elections are one of the fundamental tenets of democracy. It's one of the few times the people hold absolute power. One day every 5 years, Bahamians get the absolute say-so in who will govern them. On May 10th, 2017, the voting population gave an overwhelming margin of victory to the Free National Movement. The ruling PLP was pushed into opposition and a new era of governance begun. The country's fourth Prime Minister, Dr. Hubert Minnis, and a mostly new cabinet took office. In a little more than a week, they will celebrate the second anniversary of that victory. Our topic tonight, nearing the halfway point, 2 years of the Minnis administration. We've asked both the FNM and PLP to send us their best. Let's see how the FNM defends its record against the PLP. It's all on the record tonight. I'm your host, Jerome Sawyer. Our discussion begins on the other side of this break.
On the Record is brought to you by Alive.
Patient services is so important. For my business in particular, I am the production person, I am sales and marketing, customer service, I pick up supplies, I drop off products, and in all those cases, I need to still be able to connect with my clients. With Alive, I'm able to do that. I'm able to engage my clients. I don't have to hire someone just to man a telephone. Wherever I am, my business is with me. My name is Monique Linton, and I believe in best.
You know, Matt, where in the world is Matt Lauer? Where in the world is Ellison Greenslade? And so this is about the blow while you were concentrating in Atlanta. So we can talk about it.
On the record tonight, the government's purchase of the Grand Lukine is a hot subject in the news. We're going to This is On the Record. May 11th, 2017, Bahamians awoke to a new Prime Minister, cabinet, and the largest election majority for a government, 35-4. One newspaper described supporters as being in a state of euphoria in celebrating the win. But 2 years later, how much has changed? My guest tonight, representing the Free National Movement, is the Minister of National Security, Marvin Dames, also the MP for Mount Moriah, along with the Progressive Liberal Party's National Vice Chairman, Obi Roberts. Gentlemen, welcome to On the Record. For both of you, welcome back.
Thank you so much, Jerome. It's a pleasure to be back.
Well, we are always happy to have you. We always have a lively debate, and both of you all come on, so we're going to see how we're going to do this today now that you are on together. But as we said at the top of the show, we are nearing the halfway point. In just about a week or so, your party and government will be celebrating 2 years in office. A lot has changed. And I want to start out, Minister, by asking you, give us what you think has been some of the biggest accomplishments of your party and government to date.
Well, thank you so much, Jerome. You know, it's just interesting. Last night we had Prime Minister, that is, had a town meeting and would refer to as the Central Zone, which includes my constituency, Mount Moriah, St. Barnabas, Angliston, Baines, and Grantstown, and Centerville. And he touted any number of things from any number of areas, starting certainly with the economy. And we would have just released certainly a 9-month report And in that report, some of the highlights certainly include that we have reduced the deficit over that period by some $130 million. And during the third quarter, would have racked up some $40 million surplus. But what is also interesting to me is the fact, too, that when we look at the business licensing side, we would have increased revenue by some 35%. And what does that mean? It means now that the economy is churning and moving in the right direction. We have certainly continued to drive it. And so when we look certainly at tourism as well, already, I mean, we're having record-breaking numbers. Certainly already we would have had some 6.5 million tourists already for the year, for the last year. And that would have eclipsed the previous year figures by some half a million. And it is anticipated that this year the numbers will eclipse the previous year's numbers, and that's positive. And already we're beginning to see double-digit increases in visitors' arrival to the country. And oftentimes we have this focus on New Providence. But when we look at almost every Family Islands, the figures, the visitors' arrival figures are in double figures. I'm not talking about 10, 11%. I'm talking about 23% in those areas. When we look at Eleuthera and the Abacos and the Exumas. And so our focus is not only New Providence, but it's the entire Bahamas. So we look at education and what we're doing there, and we're trying to revolutionize that, bringing in high-speed internet into the schools, and also directing our attention not only to one graders and everything, but making education accessible even to those younger, because we recognize that if you're going to develop your kids, it shouldn't start at age 5. It should start prior to that. And already our government would have invested some $2.6 million in scholarships. There were some 1,000 scholarships for BTVI, and we're continuing to look at how we can make education more accessible to all, not only the select few. When we look at certainly crime, we would have made some inroads there as well, and increasing overall figures over last year. Double digits in key areas like homicides and armed robberies and the likes. And so we continue to push, and we continue to look at ways to make things better for all Bahamians. Are we there yet? No. As a government, we feel that we have a long way to go.
Put a plug in now. We'll talk about the journey that needs to be there. Obi, 3 key areas that he talked about that government is touting: the economy, education, crime. Giving some tangible examples. Your responses to that?
Jerome, listening to the minister, I see, and you mentioned that the economy is growing, but growing for whom? As we see, unemployment figures have gone up significantly. And many Bahamians are very concerned in terms of the well-being of the country. Many persons, like I said, are unemployed. Taxes have increased on the backs of many of the Bahamian people. So this has created a great concern. People, when they see the government in terms of some of their actions of not being transparent on many dealings, this has raised a concern. Now, I would give the F&M government kudos on the reduction of murders, but also they had a very good foundation to build on from the previous administration. in terms of with Dr. Bernard Nordich as Minister of National Security, there are many plans and programs that were implemented with the purchase of the 9 Defense Force vessels and the Sandy Port Initiative. You also see in terms of swift justice, in which when we had a major backlog in some of our court cases, that was able to be speed up. Also, you had new magistrate courts, okay, that also sped up those backlogs, okay? So the F&M government is just continuing on many of the initiatives that were advanced under the former PLP government's plans. I could go into it a lot more.
Well, we have time.
Okay.
We have time. We have time.
But
one of the things that I do want to bring to the fore, relative to the economy, and there's always this argument about, the numbers look good and we're doing well, but is that trickling down? Is that hitting to the nurse, the housekeeper, the police officer, the teacher, the journalist? Is that trickling down to that large middle class that we have? In this country, you've always said that the Bahamas is a very large middle class, but are these numbers of the economy and the success of tourism and the reduction of the deficit that you spoke of, are these things being felt by the average man and woman?
Well, let's go back, Sharon. And I heard Mr. Roberts, and some very interesting talking points, because when you say that unemployment would have increased and increased significantly, I'd like to know what those numbers are. I would like for you to share those numbers with me. But let's look at where we were prior to coming to office on May 10, 2000, 2 years ago. We would have inherited an economy in a dismal mess. Okay, we're on the brink of 4 downgrades. All of the major agencies would have lost tremendous confidence in us. We would have lost respectability from around the world, okay? And so we were on a downslide, and had the F&M government not stepped in, or had the people not voted this government in, we could have very possibly been a failed state, all right? That's how bad it was. And looking at it from the outside was bad. But when we took over, the damage was triple would we imagine, and that in itself was a nightmare. And so coming into office, our first order of business was to stabilize this economy. Okay, stabilize it, because it was in the dumps. All right, and that's the reality.
But to my question, are people feeling that? It's good to say it, and it sounds good, and you tout it, and you talk about what you met in place. But are we feeling it as people?
So we can see in all of those numbers that I would have articulated earlier, okay, points to this reality. The economy is growing. It grew by 2%, and it is expected to grow by 2.1%, okay, of this year. But all of those numbers I have shared with you is a clear indication, and now you have IMF and everybody else is saying that we're headed in the direction that I have shared with you, points to this reality, that the economy is rebounding. Certainly from 2 years ago. 2 years ago, we were on the lowest end of the continuum, okay? But now the economy is rebounding, and the Prime Minister and this government has announced now that our efforts over the next few years is to ensure that this is felt throughout. People are feeling it. People in the hotel industries are feeling it. People who are directly and indirectly connected to the business of tourism, they're feeling it all through this country. Okay, are we there? We're far from it. Okay, as a government, because we recognize, okay, that until every Bahamian in every corner of this country and every community within this country can begin to put dollars in their pockets, as the Prime Minister would have echoed last night at the Central Zone meeting, then we will come to that realization that we are we're right where we need to be, and we're going to continue
I'm going to
to
ask
push in that
Obidi to
direction.
get in on this now. To my question, are people feeling it?
No, Jerome. No. Minister Dames must be in that same cycle as Minister Darren Henfield, that they are not feeling or not identifying some of the social concerns and the financial concerns that the Bahamian people are feeling. I heard Minister Dames talk about 4 downgrades that the PLP encountered. But let me remind Minister Dames and the Bahamas, when Dr. Hubert Minnis became leader of opposition in 2012, he admitted in the House of Assembly that F&M government under Hubert Ingram left the Bahamas in a financial wheelchair. We inherited financial challenges left by the former Hubert Ingram government, in which that government in 2010 had 2 downgrades. We inherited a financial challenge and a broken economy. So this problem never began in 2012 under the Progressive Liberal Party. This happened under 2007, 2012 Hubert Ingram government, but F&M government. But to add to that, just take a look over the last 2 years. I've never seen a government who has lost so much political goodwill to the Bahamian people, who was voted in large numbers, which we have had many demonstrations. No later than yesterday, that persons were concerned about some of the initiatives about what this government is advancing.
Into the WTO, right?
That's WTO. But financially, we have seen the shortfall that was also communicated by the Minister of Finance, which they were $180 million short of their financial projections when he reported in February. Why is that? No, people are spending money. Then you increase the taxes, a value-added tax by 60% on the Bahamian people, and you expect them to spend more? No, they retracted their
Minister,
spending.
one of the major issues of contention has been that 12% value-added tax.
If our economy, during when the PLP took over, was in a wheelchair, as he noted, that was stated by Dr. Minnis, when we took over, the economy was in a casket, okay? That's where we were in this country. That's the reality. When we talk about the financial situation, you introduce VAT.
And $2.8 billion of it as well.
You introduced VAT and couldn't account for it.
Yes, we did.
You couldn't account for it at the end of your term.
Minister
you
Dames,
introduced VAT.
Minister
But
Dames,
we
accounted for it.
Yeah.
Your
In
minister,
your mind,
your colleague indicated that the
that was
VAT
part
monies,
of your
the VAT
demise.
monies was always
That
in the
was part of your
consolidated fund.
demise. That was part of your
The
demise.
F&M misled the Bahamian people as if the VAT money just
hold on,
walked
hold on.
out of the consolidated fund and then reappeared.
Okay, so let's bring the VAT discussion.
A party of a lot of talk, could have, should have, would have, right? But no action. Or you're saying we did this, and so you guys are benefiting from what we did. What did you do?
Minister,
Okay.
Minister, let me ask you this.
I like,
but 10 to
how's
15,
that?
100 years.
How is that, Minister Dames, that the PLP set back this country? The same value-added tax that the F&M in opposition voted against, didn't want, you came in and then increased it on the backs of Bahamian people without even consulting with the Bahamian people or the business community.
Because we met a country
How's that, please?
On the brink
How's that?
of a failed
Please,
state.
please, stop.
All right,
Created by
gentlemen,
created by
Minister, I want to ask you this question.
This reality.
I'd like you to
Minister,
explain this.
Minister.
This is a party that speaks without facts.
Like
I
what?
am putting facts on the table.
Please present the
you
facts.
talked about unemployment. Hi, what are the unemployment rates?
Minister Dames.
What are the unemployment rates?
Minister
You
Dames.
made a statement.
Minister,
what
yes,
are they significantly high?
Minister
What are they?
Dames, it was just reported
Share
3
with
months.
us.
It was
Okay,
confirmed.
well, you confirm it now.
It is just over 10% in
You
unemployment
can't
figures.
confirm it.
Yes,
You
I confirm
confirm
it.
it now.
It
What
is,
it is
it is
when we
public.
took
It's
over.
public record, Mr.
Huh?
Dames.
What is it?
Yes.
Right?
You don't
Gentlemen,
know.
It's 10.9.
Minister, all right,
But
Minister,
that speaks to my point.
we have
No.
to advance the discussion.
Okay.
Gentlemen, we have to
Speaks to my
advance the
point.
discussion. I
You
want to
talk
ask you
with
this.
no facts.
Minister, I want to ask you this. So give me an opportunity to give some facts now. If you had to explain to the Bahamian people and said, you know, we have been, one of the areas of contention has been this 12% value-added tax. If you had an opportunity right now to explain to the Bahamian people where that money is going, how that money is being used to satisfy their concerns, what are you going to say?
Well, let me tell you, okay, this year we said that we would pay down, this year on us, $172 million of old bills created by his government when they weren't. But well, over 300 million. But we say in this year we will pay down on 172 million. To date, this government would have paid $110 million down on that $172 million of old bills created by the PLP. Okay? So what I am saying is we have to move from the point in this country when we speak, and speak from a factual position.
So again, okay, you paid 100, you paid 110 down on old bills.
Jerome,
Again, I'm asking as a citizen. I'm curious as to know where is the 12% value-added tax going?
We're telling you, we're paying down on the deficit.
Right.
We told you.
Which is an intangible. People really don't see that, but that's an intangible. Understood.
Because we have what this government has done, okay? Because we talk about transparency. See, we put our money where our mouth is. We created a fiscal responsibility bill. You now go on the Ministry of Finance website, okay? You will see a 9-month report of the state of the economy in this country. It will tell you exactly everything. We're talking about $132 million reduction in the deficit. Okay? All right? We're talking about a surplus for the third quarter of $14 million. All right? We're telling you, we paid $110 million on the $172 million old bills that were created by them, which was well over $300 million. All right? These are factual stuff.
No, go. I'm allow you to respond. You'll get the response as we go into the break. But one of the points that he did raise, and clearly, the phrase "Where is the VAT money?" that was an Achilles heel for the PLP.
Yes.
People were not satisfied with the explanation.
Well, Jerome, to answer your question in terms of that right now, when the matter of the VAT money came up, a lot of Bahamian people really didn't understand the finances of our country. And many persons thought, and I would say this to some degree, it wasn't explained very well to the Bahamian people. But the former Prime Minister Perry Christie explained at the midterm budget debate how much money was collected, where the monies were going on a consistent basis. And then it's interesting, the day after the Free National Movement won the government on May 11, 2017, their former chairman, Sidney Corley, said we always knew where the VAT money was. It was always in the consolidated fund. They misled the Bahamian people as if something of what had taken place. Now, it's interesting that they talk about they paying out on the PLP debt over the last 3 years. But they're borrowing over $2 billion. And they're increasing taxes on the back of the Bahamian people. You borrowing more, and you're increasing taxes, and you expect to borrow us out of debt. Okay, and then Jerome, what is interesting?
After he's done, we have to take a break.
That's interesting, Jerome. We had a midterm budget debate which this government failed to have. They are mandated by law to have a midterm budget debate. So question. It was amended in 2011 by the former F&M government, by Hubert Ingram, that amended the financial law to ensure that a midterm budget debate is held, so every government held accountable of giving a financial report to the Bahamian people every 6 months.
Your 4 MPs don't even stay in Parliament.
What you mean? Minister Days.
Gentlemen, we're way over time. We're way over time.
He's not addressing the financial matter. Why did they have... Look here.
He asked about the midterm break. We have to go. The midterm budget. Answer quickly. All right, so let's hold it. Hold it, gentlemen. We're over time. We're going to take a quick break. Come back with more on the record right after this.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home.
With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you.
Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
This portion of On the Record is brought to you by Generali Insurance Company Limited, your employee benefit specialist.
Welcome back. Since 2002, the country has been on a 5-year government cycle. Not since 1997 has any party been able to maintain control of government for a consecutive term. As the FNM nears the halfway mark into its return to office, already the two parties are lining up the political machinery to contest the next elections. My guest tonight, representing the Free National Movement, is the Minister of National Security, Marvin Dames, who's also the MP from Mount Moriah, and from the Progressive Liberal Party, National Vice Chairman Obi Roberts. Our topic tonight, nearing the halfway point, 2 years of the Minnis administration. Minister, I'm going to go back to you now. What would you say has been the biggest failure of your government to date? If you could say one thing that, or maybe it's more than one thing, but what would you admit has been your biggest failure to date?
Well, not so much a failure, Jerome, but we understand since before coming into office that we made a promise to the Bahamian people that we would revitalize this economy as quickly as we can, to ensure that persons can fend and take care of them and their families. We're dealing now with, and there's an urgency to it. And as a government, it's certainly one of the things that we would have hoped that rather soon, as opposed to later, that we were able to reach even more people. But as noted by the Prime Minister during the meeting last night in this central zone, our focus now from this point on, given now that we have the economy where we now need it, after reviving it from almost, was dead. And so we had to almost create a miracle to bring this back around. But we're very pleased now, and you can see all of the indicators are pointing that we are headed in the right direction, and now it is this government's focus to take all of that and to push it down to the communities. And some of the things that we're doing is we're decentralizing a lot of our efforts, and there's been a lot of money now set aside for small business development and persons with business idea. And when Prime Minister announced last night that, for example, at the Edmund Moxie Center on Blue Hill Road, that we will create an area there where persons can go and get loans, all right, and persons can go and get grants to start their own business and don't have to pay those grants back once they can defend and say, well, here's what I'm going to do. So we have a plan, and we're sticking to that, and we're on the right trajectory, and the Bahamian people will begin to see that they would have certainly elected the right government 2 years ago.
Obi, I'm going to give you an opportunity to answer that.
Jerome, I want to remind the Minister, he on national TV saying this, the Bahamian people see it quite differently. They could go down a list of many gaps by this Free National Movement government. One of them that sits on the top of the list is this Oban deal that they signed, a heads of agreement deal, in which they have not provided no explanation to the Bahamian people, in which we had a sitting Prime Minister Satnax, a convicted criminal, who forged someone else's name on a heads of agreement document, which has now happened over a year ago, and the Bahamian people have yet to get an explanation. You want me to give you, we just talked about the increase of value-added tax, which was never on the FNM's campaign agenda in 2017. Also, this discussion and movement towards WTO that many people are very concerned with, as we just saw a demonstration yesterday, in which you have Shivago Lang, who's been the lead negotiator on behalf of the government, who has not had any education with the Bahamian people to explain WTO. This Immigration Act that just took place last week, that has the country up in an uproar, in which they are proposing to create an H-1B, I think that's what it is, visa, to allow foreigners to come into the country and work directly and compete with Bahamians with jobs. It's interesting, you going into these communities, and the communities that give this government overwhelming support and vote on the day of election, May 10, 2017. And now you wish to reward them by opening up the borders, opening up our Immigration Act to allow foreigners to come in and compete directly with jobs with Bahamians, as we have an increase and unemployment figures.
We'll deal with the Immigration Act. Before we go there, before we go to the Immigration Act, you brought up something I want us to address, Minister, before we go. The OBAN deal. No environmental impact assessment, no real consultation with the environmental groups. This debacle over the signing. To his point, the deal has stopped or been paused, and we're still waiting to hear what is to come of OBAN. And OBAN, that really was a stain on the government for months.
Okay, so we talk about OBAN. But look who's talking. All right, I can go down a whole laundry list of mess that was created under the previous government.
But Minister, and I hear you, but this was done under the FNM, regardless of what happened under the BLD.
There's a cabinet committee that has been formed. Okay.
So I want to speak into the now.
They will report back in due time.
So we are still awaiting.
Were some mistakes made? Yes, absolutely. We admitted to that. Okay. But here is
the law was broken.
But here is a government.
The law was broken.
Here is a government. Let me talk. Here is a government.
A minister of education.
Let me give you an example. Here is a government. Okay. We are still living the nightmare of the Progressive Liberal Party. We have a place called the Star Academy on Wolf Road. $32 million of the Bahamian people's monies have been invested in this academy, the construction of it. That is still going on. It's built on somebody else's land. And so knowingly, the PLP government went and built and spent $32 million of the people's monies on property owned by somebody else. Now, we don't have control of that building, okay? That's one of many of the slew of
so how are we going to recoup that money?
That's
$32 million of our money.
We're looking at it from a legal standpoint and negotiate and working with the other parties concerned. But that's an example. But let me share this.
I'll love to answer the minister.
Let me share this. We talk about investment. Never before, compared to when they were in power. Look at the investment. Grand Bahama is taking off. New Providence is taking off.
I have that in another segment.
We have in excess of $3 billion solid investment that has been signed off and on the ground and ready to roll out.
Yeah.
We're in the process of redeveloping downtown. You see the agreement that has been signed with the development of the port, and all of these agreements are very transparent. But we dealt previously with a government where deals were never transparent. And we, as a people and as a government, now are dealing with the fallout of many of the deals that were struck under the PLP.
The FNM has been accused, though, of continuing to live in the past.
But Jerome, let me remind the minister of this. That PLP government was fired by the Bahamian people. Okay? Let me make that clear. The FNM government needs to start governing instead of blaming the former government. You want to talk about transparency, Jerome? Who was the government who just signed the Lighthouse deal in Eleuthera and did not invite the media, didn't invite none of you, and then had a press release 4 or 5 days later to inform the world that there was an agreement signed at the Lighthouse point? That is called accountability and transparency, or that had the direct result of what happened when they saw someone forge someone else's signature on the OBAN heads agreement. I want to ask the minister something. If someone goes into the bank and forges someone else's name on a document or a check, as Minister of National Security, what would be his responsibility? Would he arrest them? Because we wonder why he did not arrest Peter Krieger for forging someone else's name on that heads agreement document. Next to the sitting Prime Minister, Jerome, of our country with the whole world saw it.
You talk about this OBAN thing that has yet to be finalized, and we as a government recognize that we would have made some mistakes along the way in that. All right? We understand that.
Tell me something.
But look at
the
many egregious and we have factual documents, okay, in reports to show the egregious actions
of what
that were taken on behalf of your government.
We wait now.
And many of the deals, I mentioned the Star Academy is a prime example. we could go to Barnsley. You don't want to go there.
We're waiting on this.
We're still
Minister.
We're still living.
All we've been here and talking.
We can't even get reports of it.
Hold on.
Okay?
Y'all are the government.
You guys keep.
Y'all are the
you
government.
can't find it because you.
Y'all are the
probably
government,
destroyed
Minister.
those reports.
Minister.
All right,
Jerome.
So,
Jerome,
but the
I gotta
reality
respond to
is,
this,
Go ahead.
we
I
said
gotta respond to the
you
minister.
we can't speak to the past. But the problem is, it's the past that has gotten us in this mess.
How's that?
Okay,
Hold on.
and that
Jerome,
we're trying
Jerome,
to dig out.
Jerome,
We inherited an economy.
Jerome.
All right,
An economy.
We inherited
An economy that inherited. A government that inherited $2.8 billion of bad money.
State.
Inherited Bahama. Inherited Bahama, which their party in opposition, they did not approve of the sale of Bahama to the foreign owners, and they inherited 5,000 employees, which we did not have in the Progressive Liberal Party government. Okay? This is the thing that the Bahamian people are watching and observing. They're talking about a robust tourism. Hold on, it was the PLP, thank God, for Bahama. It was the PLP negotiated the Hilton and Bimini as well, which we are seeing tourism booms throughout the archipelago as well. So all these guys have come in and cut ribbon and benefited from the Progressive Liberal Party's many left initiatives.
I
want to comment. Another thing
Go ahead. I'll give you that and I'll allow him to comment. Hold on, Minister. Go ahead.
All we inherited from your party is all kind of pain and suffering.
Okay.
And the Bahamian people,
Obi, go ahead,
the Bahamian
comment, and then
people
let's move forward.
recognize-
Let him comment, and then let's move forward. Gentlemen, we've got to move forward.
Well. That's why they overwhelmingly rejected you. Okay, so now we have an economy. That's the envy of this region.
For whom,
okay?
Minister?
Created by this
the
government.
small and middle man is not feeling it. They're not feeling it.
But you
who are you creating this economy for?
Government of special
are
interest.
you creating this economy for the same persons who live behind Life Gates?
Yeah,
when the Minister of Finance set a letter to increase value-added tax on their real property, and they set a letter back saying X, Y, and Z is the case, and he backtracked.
Yeah.
He did not impose or increase.
Minister, he makes a good point. He makes a very good point there. He makes a very good point.
Those people did not lift a black card. Those people did not march downtown like the 5,000 Bahamians that went in front of Parliament.
The optics of that. The optics of something like that. Yeah, the optics of something like that.
The optics. See, your talking points are the same.
It's facts, sir.
All right,
that you created that all of the things that we're doing now is on the back of your success. Your government was a total failure. This was the worst government in the history of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. The Bahamian people overwhelmingly rejected you and your actions.
But
you were and still are a government of special interest.
Really,
okay?
sir?
Yes.
Okay.
Really.
And you are opening the floodgates to allow foreigners to come in to take jobs from Bahamians?
They will not take jobs from Bahamians. See, there again, you go with no factual basis.
I can bring some information directly.
All right.
You should have the information
Minister,
because you're making those comments.
Let's move on. Gentlemen.
I understand how your government works.
We've got to move forward.
Lack of facts.
We've got to move forward.
News and falsehood.
All right.
That's how you function.
Minister, let's move forward in our discussion. The FNM campaign on a platform stamping out corruption. There continue to be several ongoing cases against former PLP ministers, more recently a well-known party supporter out of Grand Bahama. Is there still an appetite for that? The public is viewing that, particularly, and I'll come to the Frank Smith case in a moment, but is there still the appetite for that?
Nothing has changed. This is still a government that is focused on cleaning up corruption within the Commonwealth of the Bahamas, irregardless as to who it is. You know, we talk about the PLP, but we're regardless. If it sits within the FNM, we're going to address it. If it sits within the PLP, we're going to address it. Wherever it sits.
All right, so
we're
now brings me to the next part of this question. The outcome of the Frank Smith case, he was acquitted of bribery and extortion. Within that ruling, the Chief Magistrate, Ferguson Pratt, criticized Health Minister Sands and yourself for the egregious way in which you interacted with Mrs. Hannah prior to the police investigation into her claims. There were continued calls, very loud calls for your resignation. How has this affected your ability to lead on an individual basis, and how has this perception even affected the government? When this government had campaigned on a platform of transparency, openness,
Absolutely.
anti-corruption.
I will not speak to the case, but I will say this.
Yes.
Okay? I have been serving as a member of the Royal Bahamas. I'd served as a member of the Royal Bahamas for 23 years. Okay? I have interacted with law enforcement at the local level as well as the international level, and continue to do so, all right, by way of other governments, all right? My integrity precedes me. And I often say to all those who would criticize, because that's a minority, because I have been stopped by people all over this country saying that they understand the game, all right? All right, so my reputation precedes me. I did nothing wrong, and I will stand up anywhere and speak that, all right? All right, I will not come this far in my career to do something outlandish.
Has it
But I
affected? Has it affected your ability?
No, it hasn't. It hasn't, because we've done nothing wrong. It hasn't affected, and we remain resolute in dealing with corruption. For far too long, this country has been on a trajectory, all right, where a small few has benefited, and then they speak as though, right, they're for the masses, all right? We are a government of transparency, and wherever corruption is, we will root it out, no matter where it's at. And we hold true to that to this day.
Jerome, I remind the minister, you're on television, people watching it. Jerome, the minister, Dames, and Sands were judicially condemned by Ferguson Pratt and their involvement in Frank Smith's case. That ripple effect went throughout the entire, sent shockwaves throughout the country in terms of when the information came in, the details. No wonder Frank Smith was acquitted. No wonder he had nothing to answer to. And many people still calling for the resignation of Mr. Dames and Mr. Sands and wonder why they're still in the House Assembly.
People in your party.
And they wonder why the PLP at times walked out of the House Assembly. When you have his leader, when he was minister, when he was opposition leader, and he went down to then Minister Alfred Gray's office and demanded him to be, for him to quit or resign or to be fired. And yet now, since the FNM is in government, the shoe doesn't apply to Dr. Minnis and the Free National Movement.
Look what you're comparing.
I allow him to speak. I allow him to speak, Jerome.
Hold on, Minister. Allow him to finish.
I allowed him to speak. You wonder why the Bahamian people have such concerns about the credibility of the Free National Movement government. You wonder why they have so much concerns of Mr. Daines and his leadership as Minister of National Security because of his involvement.
I have no choice
because of his involvement. Him and Dr. Sachs. The same, hold on, I judicially condemn him, you know. Ferguson Pratt judicially condemned them and their involvement in it.
So let me speak to that. You are comparing apples with oranges, my friend. Okay? You are comparing someone who was referred to me, who I referred to the police. Okay?
The facts spoke differently. The facts spoke differently.
Those are the facts.
Did you have to change your statement?
Those are the facts.
Did you have to change your statement?
Listen to me. No, I did not have to change my statement.
You didn't?
I had to amend my statement.
What amend is?
But no, listen.
What is an amendment?
Hear me. You are comparing incidences that happened in your party and your government. Where that were criminal matters. Okay? What I did had nothing to do. That's comparing apples with oranges. Okay? But I understand.
Ferguson Pratt sees it quite differently, sir.
But you hear me? But that
the general public sees it quite differently, sir.
Now let me speak. No. The certain select group within your party. Because I understand, okay? Because now they're facing, all right, someone and a party that's against corruption. And so anyone now, I understand that anyone, let me talk. Anyone that stands up against corruption is your enemy. And that speaks volumes.
Your colleague in the House Assembly, Frederick McElbine, who's from the Free National Movement, not just the PLP, sir.
Okay.
He also, when you had a heated exchange in the House Assembly, and had to be comforted and taken into the back by one of your colleagues when he asked for, he accosted you and he wondered why you are still a minister of the government and you have not submitted your resignation, sir.
No, but again, you see, you can sit here.
That's what he said.
And speak falsehoods.
That is on TV, sir.
Someone had to take me in a row. That's falsehood. I've cleared that up over and over. And McAlpine had cleared that up.
So
when he was on the show.
So the reporters, so the reporters are misleading. Frederick McAlpine was misleading.
Well, he cleared that up on a show. But it so happened that you and your party, you have your agenda. But your agenda.
Your colleague asked why you are still a minister.
But your agenda.
If he was fired.
Is to talk down everyone who is vehemently against corruption.
Gentlemen,
and I understand why.
we've got to take a break. Gentlemen, we are way over time. We are way over time. We are way over time. Gentlemen, thank you very much. If you are enjoying our discussion, stay tuned. We're going to continue right after this break.
Okay, let's go.
Sprained her ankle.
He's lie, babe. She just finished watching this movie.
How old was I? 4 days?
She always just play the same in every episode. I don't understand it.
See what y'all missing is y'all need to get to season 3, man.
I thought
season 1.
They say season 2 was where it started, though.
Years old and having
Alive Postpaid. You're there for your friends when it matters, and we're here for you with more data to stream all the shows and movies you love.
Sorry about that, guys.
And I'm the sole heir.
With our letters of notification or return. What's the kid doing in yellow?
Come on, Mom, it's the best part.
For everything that matters. Alive. Believe in best.
Hello and welcome to On the Record, a balanced, true and open debate you've been looking for. There's no denying these last 2 years have been difficult for the governing party. Grand Bahama especially has been a hard sell. The decision to purchase the Grand Lucayan was met with fierce opposition. The economy of that island remains on life support despite promises of a better Grand Bahama. Ragged Island, 2 years after a hurricane, has had little to no progress, and several other storm-ravaged communities still need attention. But the proposed sale of the Grand Bahama Hotel, a proposed cruise port on the island, plans for a reconstructed modern Nassau port, the Disney project at Lighthouse Point, and several other projects announced in the past few months have provided the positive news the government needs. But the question is it enough? Our topic tonight, nearing the halfway point, 2 years of the Minnis administration. My guest tonight, representing the Free National Movement, is the Minister for National Security, Marvin Dames, and representing the Progressive Liberal Party, National Vice Chairman Obi Roberts. Minister, in that introduction to the segment, I tried to sort of balance what was happening. Grand Bahama has been really tough. Is a lot, or how much I should say, is riding on the developments in Grand Bahama?
Well, I mean, we recognize since coming into office that Grand Bahama certainly was a key focus for us. Too many promises had been made to the people of that island previously. Many that have gone would have gone certainly unfulfilled. The economy continued to deteriorate, and so we decided since coming in that we will make Grand Bahama a priority. We have been doing just that, and we can now see that we're turning that island in the right direction as a result of any number of projects that are foreshadowed and are on its way. And so, in addition to that, we kind of promoted Grand Bahama to as a tech hub.
Right.
And we've been growing that. So we're trying to diversify the economy of Grand Bahama, but understanding too that tourism is still the primary engine. And I'm pleased to say, and this was reported by the Minister of Tourism as well, is that tourism arrivals to that island too is growing. So there are signs that the economy is picking up and will take a major drive in the right direction with the introduction of these new projects by Disney, as well as the Lucayan Hotel that's foreshadowed very shortly.
Obi, the PLP and others would have criticized the government for purchasing the Grand Lucayan and sort of making some moves just to keep the hotel afloat. Considering the announcements that have happened with the port and even the proposed purchases of the hotel, you still think that was an unwise decision?
Well, Jerome, the people of Grand Bahama has gone through some tough times for many years, particularly some of the devastation they experienced with some of the hurricanes from 10, 12 years ago with Jean and Francis to most recently, I think, with Matthew. And the economy has gone up and down. Now it's been basically almost on life support. Anything that comes to Grand Bahama that is positive and is done right, we are in support of. But we heavily scrutinize and criticize this government on some of their things that are not open and transparent to the Bahamian people. I mean, we keep going back to this Oban matter, which is not transparent. The cruise port deal, which was signed by the Christie-led government before we left office, that was designed for Eastern Grand Bahama. We now see that they have moved it into inland. That's one. Now, we wait to see this matter, this letter of intent that was signed in terms of the Grand Lucayan Resort. We wait to see that. All right, like we always said, the devil is in the details. We will wait to see how that takes place. Now, you talk about this tech hub. It's interesting. You just had a company 2 months ago, GIBC Digital, who was a part of the commercial enterprise experience that the Free National Movement implemented in 2017. They opened their doors in 2018. In less than 6 months, they end up laying off half of their employees. Half of their employees. And I'm just interested to see now that's creating this tech hub, that a company like this, we're just interested to see what their business plan was, that they were able to open up. And in less than a year, you were able to not close your doors, but lay off some of your employees. So we wonder, how is this going to transpire in terms of this tech hub?
Lots of questions.
It's a lot of questions.
All right, let's move forward. It's a short segment.
That's the nature of free enterprise.
Okay, gentlemen.
You could start a business and decide after a period that you know
not a well planned or prepared business plan.
Minister, this next question. This next question is near to you. Crime, sir. Crime.
Everything we're doing.
Minister, this is your portfolio now. Minister, this is your portfolio. Crime has gone down in the past year. The commissioner who was on my show and other senior officers touted these numbers are down. Yet we hear of the heinous acts that take place all the time. That still strikes fear into the hearts of the Bahamian people.
Well, this is Jerome.
Sorry, before we finish that, and you and others have always said crime is not a political issue.
No.
Okay. Make sure. Okay.
Well, listen. Hold it now.
You just handcuffed him just now.
No,
I'm not handcuffed. I'm just sort of reminding you of the things that are said.
But governments have a responsibility.
Yes.
Okay, to drive successes, to drive actions, to create policy that will lead us in the right direction. So now, after having said that, we just came out of a period, right, that I would deem and everybody else would deem probably the bloodiest period in our nation's history. Now, yes, crime continues to go down, and we know. I mean, homicides and double figures and everything else. And already for the year, we can see a downward trend. And from time to time, you have these incidents that flare up. All right, that really reminds us that we are not quite there yet. But that's the way the war's headed. I mean, after witnessing the incident the other day, I went home, turned my TV on, and there was a synagogue shooting somewhere in the U.S. And then, but you walk down the streets of any major city, almost anywhere. I mean, there is a level of risk that you face. And so it just points to the fact that what we see is a manifestation of neglect over decades that we must seek to fix. And the problem is not, it's not singular. As we continue to say as a government, this is a multifaceted problem, an issue that we're facing. So it requires a holistic, a broad-based approach to addressing the problem. And that is what we're doing as a government. We have taken a multi-agency, a multidisciplinary, a multi-ministerial approach to addressing the problem, and we continue to see that it's moving in the right direction. Are we there yet? No, we're not. We still have a significant way to go, but we feel pleased that we're headed in the right direction.
Jerome, I would like to add something to the Minister in terms of, he said he inherited a bloody era. I would tell him also some of the initiatives that him and his government in terms of national security also inherited that has also helped them. Assisted them greatly in reducing crime. Sure. Like for instance, let me tell you what the PLP did between 2012 to 2017, Jerome. You also see the PLP amend the Police Act that basically rid the term of the Commissioner of Police having terms. He is free to do whatever he wanted to do in terms of that. The PLP spent over $1 million in purchasing the best body armor for the police officers. Okay? Yes, those are facts. Okay? The PLP also bought several brand new police vehicles. I could go on $3.2 million. 51 Ford Taurus Interceptors. Over 5 20 Wrangler Jeeps. 20 Nissan Versas. And 3 Nissan civilian buses. The PLP also purchased 50 police motorcycles. Spent $1.3 million on fire trucks and reopening fire stations. Most recent one, which they opened last year in Grand Bahama, which was built, that Dr. Minister went down and opened.
I started that when I was in the police force. I started that when I was in the police force.
Just reminding him.
I could go more. Under Hubert Minnis' government.
Right. Also,
governments are continuous.
Under the former PLP government, they recruited 427 police officers. That was the largest exercise of recruitment in the history of the Bahamas.
Oh, nonsense.
All right. Also, see, you call it nonsense. He ain't say it was wrong.
I want to address that.
Oh, please address that. Also, in the Defense Force, also in the Defense Force, they also recruited over 480 new recruits to the Defense Force during the 5 years.
Okay, we've got a quick
break. I just want to highlight some of the things that he was able to inherit and benefit
from. So now he's giving you some facts. Minister, you've asked for facts. He's giving you facts.
But that's no fact.
Minister, come on now. They aren't facts.
You saw my report. No. Okay. We're spending $17 million on drones. Okay. We spent $6.9 million on vehicles, and you talk about 1.3 over 5 years.
Yes.
And we're spending $6.9 million over what? Go on.
Hold on, Minister.
All right, gentlemen, we got 30 seconds, and we have to go to a break. Have to go to a break.
The actual facts.
But then,
All right.
we had 135 officers.
He wasn't expecting that.
You are, gentlemen, our final segment right after this break. Our final segment right after this break.
Hi, I'm here to tell you about the fastest way to purchase the vehicle you want right from home.
With SBT Japan, we import used cars from Japan straight to you.
Car ownership doesn't have to be hard. Go to sbtjapan.com and sign up for free. Search for the car you want, place your order, and make a payment using any one of our convenient payment options. Once you pay the duty and tax to our in-house broker, we will clear the vehicle and even deliver it straight to your home. Sounds too easy? Well, shouldn't it be?
You know, Matt, where in the world is Matt Lauer? Where in the world is Ellison Greenslade? And so this is about the low value of cottage in Atlanta. So we can talk about it.
On the record tonight, the government's purchase of the Grand Lukine is a hot subject in the news. We're going to Welcome back to our final segment. My guest tonight from the Free National Movement, the Minister for National Security, Marvin Dames, who's also the MP for Mount Moriah, as well as the Progressive Liberal Party's National Vice Chairman, Obi Roberts. The past 2 years, you know, a lot has happened within the past 2 years, but you are still facing some significant hurdles. You've got a new immigration law that's coming onto the books that has caused a lot of angst and some controversy. You continue to have outspoken critics within your party, Frederick McAlpine, Arish Chipman. Where do you think you have lost the most ground, and what is the plan, or what are the plans to try and regain some of that public support that you have lost?
This is Jerome, this is all a part of governance, and governance in a democracy. I don't understand sometimes when people say, well, you know, you have this outspoken person. That's fine. People are allowed to voice their opinions. That's what we're all about. We have to mature in this democracy.
And be able to respect that.
And be able to respect that.
Now that I agree.
You know, I mean, too often in the past, we had leadership based on suppressing the views.
And I agree with you on that. I agree, yes. I've said it on this show. Yeah, I agree with it.
We have to mature above that.
Yes.
You have no issues if you bring a bill and people oppose certain aspects of the bill. That's fine. That's what we're all about. That's why we call it a democracy, because we all come to the table with different views. We think differently, while we may not always agree. Okay. But that is what it's all about.
Are those views taken into consideration? Are you listening to those members when they get up and oppose?
Listen, we have a parliamentary caucus on a regular basis, okay? And within those caucuses, persons are allowed to voice their opinion, and many do, okay? We don't always agree. No, of course not. But at the end of the day, when we walk out of whatever meeting that we're in, there should be some level of compromise that here's where we stand. We made adjustments wherever we needed to make or wherever possible, and we move on. But still, at the end of the day, you're not going to have 100% agreement. Any party where you have 100% agreement, then you have to look within and say, well, what's going on here?
And lost ground, very quickly. Those areas where you think you've lost ground.
Well, I don't know if you know, if there's an answer to the question, we would have lost ground. I mean, there are some things, sure, that we need to do differently, that we need to improve on. I mentioned that. One of the things that certainly concerns us is that, you know, we have to drive this economy in such a way that people across the board from every community begin to feel it. But what you're seeing, Jerome, is that this government and this prime minister, his key focus is the persons over the hill, the people in
I over the hill, but I won't feel it.
No, but true. But in these communities that have been neglected for decades, and so hence you see the over the hill community. So we're driving and building our communities from inside out, not outside.
Obi, hold on, I can't let you be out of time, and I've got to ask you this now. I know that the PLP is getting ready to go into convention this summer. What is the PLP doing differently? What are you offering this time around that you will hope will draw people back to the party? Like you said, the Bain people fired the PLP.
Yes.
You all want a job back.
Yes.
So now, what are you doing differently that will attract people back to the PLP?
Jerome, besides this rebuilding and rebranding, we are currently also revamping our party's constitution that will allow a lot more individuals' involvement in the moving and progressive movement of our party. All right, we had a convention 2 years ago, which we elected a new leader, a new deputy leader. a new chairman, a whole new slate of party officers in terms of that right now. We have been traveling throughout the length and breadth of the country and speaking and getting the concerns of the Bahamian people where we went wrong and acknowledging some of our issues, internal issues of the party where we went wrong and some of that created on why we lost. Okay, we have to look in the man in the mirror and identify some of those issues. All right, as we are preparing for 2022 or beyond. We are preparing for a convention, which we're going to confirm the date in short order later on this year, in which you will see.
Let me know soon so I can know not to be on vacation. You know, I have to wait when you'll have convention.
And which we will also articulate some of our plans going forward. All right, and removing this corrupt, crime-ridden F&M government.
That's funny.
And I can say this to you, Jerome, people are still demanding Minister Daines and Minister Science resignation. And they will consistently keep demanding this.
Your party.
All right? Now, Jerome, I allow him to speak. I will allow him to speak. I will allow him to speak.
You went on another
Of course, I can speak directly to you, Minister Daines.
New meaning to the word corruption. That's why you're the opposition.
You were traditionally condemned. Not us.
But I have
not us. Not Frank Smith.
Yeah, but you look at all
not
the
Frank
reports.
Smith. Not Frank Smith.
I don't even get into
Jerome,
that. But the people would say,
gentlemen, we out of time. We out of time. We out of time. We out of time. We are out of time. We are out of time.
Will be sent a strong message by the Bahamian people when the bell is rung. And they will be sent into political posture.
2022 is not that far away. 2022 is not that far. Gentlemen, I want to say this. I will make a personal assurance that I'll bring both of you back on. Round 2.
Any member of your party.
He's
round 2.
Convention as well.
Gentlemen, I want to thank you so much for coming on the show tonight. I thank you so much for coming on tonight. Gentlemen, thank you for coming. Folks, we hope that you have enjoyed our show tonight. Special thanks to my guests. They're still talking. I promise to bring them back on another time. Gentlemen, I expect a little order. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming. Thank you so much for coming. I'll see you all next time. Good night, everyone. Gentlemen.